Horse Gluttony by Celeste Winter. Chapter 1 The Test. Nutmeg grazes the steel push-in handles of the hurricane-proof glass doors of her college auditorium. Her graduation robes surrounded her small frame like they might be made of soggy carpet, not cheap silk, handmade by children overseas. There were a few special details that made the robes feel personal, but barely enough to disrupt the scratchy, melodramatic invasion of Nutmeg's aura. Earrings are always a favorite, enchanted with olive oil the night before, a spell she learned as a child but still uses for special occasions. Nutmeg couldn't balance the idea in her mind, her robes being weighed down by enchanted tassels. Given to everybody, enchanted tassels are supposedly a great privilege to receive, but they ruin your outfit. And if you're not careful, your entire graduation day, a person doesn't get to say no to enchanted tassels, and yet they have a dark, gloomy aura of bad luck attached to them. She slipped outside, letting the cold breeze question her bare legs. For a moment, Nutmeg wondered why this giant world ever agreed to set a fresh college graduate like her free. She reached for the pocket of her robe, where a crisp, frosty bottle of ice water waited. Her hangover was the only reason she let it stick out of her pocket, lumpy as it was. Ceremonial wine is a staple in magical training, ritual, and graduation ceremonies. Nutmeg noticed her aloneness more than ever with her diploma in hand. Was she a person at all, or just a grain of sand? She looked down at the tiny, typewriter-written words on her papers, glittering gold. A 100-year degree in horse creation, and a 300-year degree in magical technology. Common, average degrees. Nothing remarkable, but reliable enough to guarantee you a job. Nutmeg ran her thumb over the embossed seal, feeling the slight rise of its edges. Horse creation, magical technology, the two pillars of a sensible life. Nothing flashy, nothing myth-shattering. Degrees given to thousands every century. Still holding them made her chest ache. She wondered if Cinnamon was already surrounded by people, swallowed up in congratulations and noise. Nutmeg had slipped out early, partly to escape the crowd, partly because no one had noticed she left. A soft wind ruffled her robe, tugging at the corners of the diploma. The gold flecks inside the paper shimmered like a quiet constellation, reliable, average, predictable. But Nutmeg didn't feel any of those things. She felt like a question mark dressed in a graduation gown. She tucked the papers carefully into her bag and murmured, 100 years for horses, 300 for magic, and still no degree in knowing who I am. The ice bottle in her pocket clinked as she stood, cold against her hip, grounding her just enough to take the first step away from the ceremony grounds. Nutmeg stepped down the stone path leading away from the ceremony hall, her diploma tucked under her arm like a fragile piece of evidence. Around her, the courtyard buzzed with freshly graduated magical specialists, but with the casual energy of people who had done this 1,000 times before, not like they had spent centuries earning it. Clusters of graduates compared degrees the way regular people might compare coupons. Your 200-year minor was only an advanced hoof design? Someone groaned loudly. Another replied, yeah, my 400-year capstone horse exploded during finals. I had to redo the whole thing. Total pain. No one gasped. No one reacted at all. Parents took pictures with bored expressions. A grandmother applauded her granddaughter's thesis on bioluminescent pony life cycles, the way one applauds a slightly above average kindergarten recital. Someone's dad handed out enchanted cupcakes. A couple of aunts complained they were missing a sale at the mall. Horse creation was normal. So normal it was almost forgettable. Nutmeg felt the crowd's warmth around her, but also felt completely apart from it. Like she was standing behind a soundproof wall. Everyone else seemed to know exactly what came next. She didn't. Everyone got a little wine wobbled on days like this. She took a breath, steadying herself. A job. That was all she needed. Something stable, something simple, something that wouldn't ask too many questions. She followed the signs directing graduates to the job placement building, a massive, red-themed monolith rising at the far end of campus. The color wasn't friendly red. It was the sharp, controlling red of a corporation that had grown so large no one remembered when it started. Nutmeg craned her neck. Red Point Authority was printed across the top in shiny, brushed metal letters. People whispered other names for it. The Scarlet Department. The Bullseye Sector. But everyone meant the same thing. It was part corporation, part government, part enchanted superstore. They ran job assignments, regulated magical technical labor, and owned half the malls across the nation. A girl walking beside Nutmeg whispered, "If you don't like your job placement, just pretend you do. They can smell dissatisfaction." Nutmeg didn't know if it was true, but she didn't doubt it. The sliding doors opened with a mechanical buzz that felt too quiet for a building this large. Nutmeg stepped inside instantly, swallowed by the smell of red ink, basil-infused floor polish, and fluorescent spells that flickered like artificial stars overhead. She checked in, accepted her number, Group 47B, and was escorted down a long yellow hallway that felt like the inside of an alien's mind. The door closed behind her. 30 people sat in rows, each more bizarrely normal than the last. Some wore shimmering graduation robes that drifted behind them like mist. Others sported glittering magical piercings or colognes that smelled faintly of hay. A few had magical accents so thick their words sparkled. Different species percentages blended together, some mostly human, some partially equine, some so mixed that Nutmeg couldn't place them. Everyone pretended they weren't scared. Nutmeg took a seat in the back, her stomach tightening, with a sensation she didn't have a name for. Not quite nerves, not quite excitement, something else, something she didn't trust. She set her diploma across her lap and tried to act like a person who belonged here, like someone who wasn't secretly terrified of being told her destiny by a corporation that owned half the world. Then a heavy rain started outside. Meanwhile, the room stayed silent. She knew that feeling. Oh no, she whispered to herself. Cinnamon stepped through the doorway like the world held its breath just for him. Cinnamon didn't look magical. He didn't look dangerous. He looked normal. A little nervous, maybe. A little curious about the giant corporate maze he'd just walked into. He ran a hand through his hair and scanned the room. Nutmeg froze. Twin flame. She felt it immediately. The tug, the recognition, the spark that fizzled through her chest like soda and lightning. Her heart thumped once, harder than it should have, as the Ace of Cups opened inside her, the energy fresh and new. But underneath that, the sharp, cold fear of the Seven of Swords, because twin flames brought chaos, complications, fate. Nothing unpredictable was ever good inside a government corporate testing center. And Cinnamon didn't know he was 1% horse. Nutmeg wasn't certain, but she suspected. In the way one suspects storms before clouds gather. And if Red Point Authority noticed something unusual in his magical structure, job placement would be the least of their problems. Cinnamon's gaze drifted across the room and landed on her. His brow furrowed, not recognition, not exactly, more like he felt something and didn't know why. Nutmeg looked away fast. Please, she begged silently, don't come sit by me, not today, not here. But fate had already started. A tall instructor in a red uniform entered with a clipboard glowing faintly. Behind her floated a dozen identical drones, each holding vials, scrolls, diagnostic crystals, and spell spheres. Welcome to your placement evaluation, she said, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Today you will complete aptitude spells, personality enchantments, stress simulations, and magical technical diagnostics. Your performance will determine your future assignment. Please remain calm. A few people swallowed. A few nodded stiffly. Everyone's fear turned sharp and silent. Nutmeg tried to focus, but Cinnamon kept glancing over, like he was trying to solve a riddle he didn't know he was a part of. This wasn't good. This wasn't right. This entire day was supposed to be predictable. Instead, Nutmeg felt the gears of fate turning beneath her feet. Something was shifting. Something was aligning. And her stomach twisted with the certainty that nothing about this test would go the way it was intended to. Not with Cinnamon here. Not with her twin flame sitting 20 feet away. Nutmeg exhaled, whispering inwardly, not today, not him, not here. But fate was already moving. Magic too. And genetics. And whatever invisible thread bound the two of them together. Something was about to go very, very wrong.